Hello, everyone, and welcome in. It's Aaron St. Denis. You can find me on Twitter at FFMadScientist, joined by Mike Reedy. You can find him at Mike Reedy FF. How's it going, Mike?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Better than you. I know you're a little under the weather. Thanks for bearing with me here. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I have this long COVID. One of the things I tell some of my friends, it's a good thing it's not real, right?
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. Yes, my symptoms are all in my head for 2 months. All right, before we get into it, I guess I will do our little introduction here. Welcome back. We are continuing on the Mad Science Lab podcast with the series Risers and Fallers, uh, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network and Fantasy Football Universe. I know I'm going to try and limit the amount of talking you have to do, but let's start it off with you want to tell everyone about yourself, where we can find your work and what it is you do.
I'm a writer at Fantrax. I really well known, I guess, for Moneymakers and Heartbreakers. I do a lot of DFS and redraft. A little bit of Dynasty, not so much. And I also do a waiver article on the weekends. That's about it. You can find me on the Cheat Sheet podcast as well.
Awesome, awesome.
Those
It's
two.
funny because I don't think I interacted with anyone from Fantrax for the better part of 2 years. And this week, I've had two on the show and been on one episode of Fantrax. So I must have got caught in some Fantrax black hole here or what. But
Well, Nick Script took over as the overall fantasy content lead, and that might be why, right? Like I joined, I left the Undroppables and went to Fantrax mostly so I could work with Nick, and I think we both only been there a year, one season.
all right. Well, I am glad to have you. I will try and make you not suffer too much here. Let's get right into it. We will start with your riser. That is Green Bay quarterback Jordan Love. He is in, that was his technically fourth season, but we'll call it his rookie year. He's been quarterback 244, 51, 66, and QB5 last year. 372 completions on 579 attempts, 4,159 passing yards, a touchdown to interception ratio of 32-11. He added in 247 rushing yards and 4 rushing TDs. So a pretty solid season. I don't think anyone had him as QB5 in the preseason. We will take a look quickly. I don't normally like to do KTC as the rankings, but in the off season, it's basically crowdsourced. I like to see what the general public feels. So they have him 67th overall in single QB as QB 11, and Fantasy Pros has him as 99th overall as QB 13. So he seems to be settling in as a back end QB 1/QB 2. Where do you have him, and how high do you think he gets up there?
I think a low end QB1's a good place to have him ranked, and he probably could potentially make it to a top five finish again. He's already done it once, right? In standard, he was fifth most in attempts with 579 attempts. You mentioned he threw the second most TD passes, so he may not hit that level again with the TD passes. So I'd keep him around low end QB1 as well. He's got great wide receiver group there, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
I know. It's a real problem. I've had trying to decipher which one of them is the wide receiver one in the group, but they are a good group. The consensus seems to be here. Do you prefer Love or Trevor Lawrence?
oh, that's a tough one, isn't it?
I know that
I
seems to be
would
the
have them right around the same. I wouldn't have a problem drafting either guy, by the way. I think I'll give Love a slight advantage because of that wide receiver group. It's just you have Jaden Reed, Romeo Dubs, Christian Watson, and Dontavian Wicks,
yeah.
and then Aaron Jones is great at catching the football as well out of the backfield. So
Two tight
so
ends too who can catch.
yes, and tight ends who can catch. He spreads the ball around. It's one of the problems I think there was fantasy wise for us with
Yeah,
some of those players mentioned.
yeah.
But because he spreads the ball around, that means I think if you want somebody in this passing game, Love's the guy you want. So I would most likely be willing to take him over Lawrence. I have a feeling that Lawrence will go ahead of him in drafts. So that's another reason for me to like Love. Allows you a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
to
the
wait.
range they have right now. He is going, it is starting at 9. It's Kyler, Lawrence, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Love, Fields, Purdy. Where do you think he falls in that group? Do you like, I know it's a lot to take in all at once. Do you like most of those guys better than him? Do you have him at the top or bottom of that group, you think? Of, I guess that's what, 6?
Uh, yeah, I guess I'd put him in the middle of that group. Those are all guys that I'll be drafting a lot of, by the way, because I think you can wait again at quarterback, and I like
Yep.
that. Um, and guys like Love, Dak, Purdy,
Fields, Caleb,
yeah,
that's all
Field.
one group there. It looks like just they seem to be the tier 3 as of now on Fantasy Pros. I think he's probably solidly in the middle for me. Like I think he's creeping up even higher. Like I don't know if there's anyone in this group. I might take Caleb Williams, but even that scares me because we still don't know what we have with Caleb Williams, and it's kind of a do you want the bird in the hand or one in the bush? What's the deal here?
I'm taking heat because I don't like Caleb Williams as a draft pick all that much. One, we don't know where he's going to land yet, right? So you have no idea how that's going to turn out. I'd probably take Love over him for sure right
Yeah.
now. Um, Williams could be great. He might bust out too. We don't know how he'll do in the NFL. It's a big change. Um, I know everybody likes to talk about rookie prospects as if they can't miss, but I think we've seen an awful lot miss.
How many of these generational can't miss prospects are playing in the XFL right now? I bet a whole bunch of them. So
Well, or they're just riding the pine somewhere,
yeah, yeah.
right? So that's so I get wary on that. I know he's good. Well, he was good in college. I think I would probably take Love over him as well. Love's not that old, so and again, Green Bay just seems to know what they're doing when they draft a quarterback for some reason.
Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely a group where they all seem to have their flaws. Like, I don't mind Murray, Lawrence, or Dak, but I think at this point I might take the younger Love, who seems to have a great cast. I'm not a big Fields guy.
well,
Purdy, I'm the crew is still out on.
the
I think
cast
Love is actually a decent value in this tier here.
and the cast isn't just good, but they're incredibly young as well,
Yes,
except for
they are.
Aaron Jones. I mean, the wide receivers and the tight ends are all really young.
Yes. Well, who's the oldest one? Is it Watson in his second year? Oh, I
I,
mean, excluding Aaron Jones.
excluding Aaron Jones, I think it's Watson. Yeah.
Yeah, in his second year, going into his third year. They're
Oh,
all rookies or second year players. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it. But well, they have 2 rookie tight ends alone. So
I know. I liked both of those guys last year, by the way. It that'll be interesting to see how that pans out if they're when they're both healthy and raring to go.
how high do you think you will have Jordan Love going in your rankings here? Do you think he's going to be a top 10, top 12, top 15? Where do you think he settles in for you?
I'm daring with stuff like this, and I think I have him top 12.
All right, I like it. Well, he's kind of pushing the borderline there, so
He's
it's not
pushing.
exactly a hot take. I don't think you're going to
Well,
take too much
it's
heat
not
there.
really hot takey. He has good upside, even at that spot. That's why I like him there, right? Like, there's still
With
upside.
I'm not even a big fan of the upside arguments. I always hated the ones where we're chasing upside. Dallas Goddard, 20 years later, we're chasing the upside. He's been QB5 already. He's hit some of that
That
upside.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
The potential's there for him to be top
yeah,
5, top 6 guy again.
yeah.
Um,
And I mean,
and,
like,
and
so
if
go
he's
ahead.
not, he's still probably going to be top 10, top 12, right? Like that's being cautious in
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah, like even if QB5 last season was his high point and his upside, I'm fine with drafting him where he's going as QB8, QB10. Like
Yeah,
even
that's
if
my
he
thought.
doesn't get any better.
Well, he might not get that amount of touchdowns again, right? That was the
Yeah, what
second
was it?
most.
32. Yeah, you said he was
Yeah,
second.
second, yeah.
Yeah.
So he might not be able to duplicate that, and that might bring him down a little. But that's he's still a top 10 guy then.
Well, could you imagine though? Factor in if he ever has a healthy, like all of his receivers missed time. Aaron Jones missed time. Luke Musgrave missed time. Every single offensive weapon, with the exception, I think, of Tucker Kraft, missed time.
Yes, yes, and he still just kept spreading the ball around. No, didn't miss a beat. I think it was amazing. I did not expect him to be that good this season. And it's like the Scott Fishbowl live draft in Boston. I took Christian Watson late, relatively late. He was like my third or fourth wide receiver, and Leo Pasiga um, sits next to me at the draft every year, and he said, I don't trust this quarterback." He didn't trust Love, and there was a lot of that going into this season because we didn't know what we were going to get. So he exceeded everybody's expectations. Love did.
Yeah.
Um, Now Watson, on the other hand, did not exceed everyone's expectations.
No, but I still love the other weapons. Even Dobbs, I love
Oh,
Reed and Wicks. They're all great, I think so.
well, Jaden Reed, like, I was big on Dobbs all season too, by the way. And once Wicks hit the field, he looked great too. Jaden Reed, though, is both running the football and catching the football. I mean, he really exceeded expectations for
Yeah,
everyone.
he's excellent. I
Like,
guess that is a perfect time to transition into your faller, his teammate and receiver, Christian Watson, who, as a rookie, finished as wide receiver 41, 68 last year. Obviously, only played in 9 games, 28 catches on 53 targets for 422 yards and 5 touchdowns. Both seasons, he has had a YPC of 15, just over, just under, right in that range. That's insane. On KTC, he is currently 96th overall, wide receiver 41. On Fantasy Pros, he's almost the same. He's wide receiver 41, but 89th overall. Why are you out here on Watson? Is it just that you've like you said you're higher on Dobbs and Reed now, or what is it for Watson?
so people get mad when I say things like too many mouths. I've had this argument with people in
It's
the
true in
fantasy
this case,
community. It's true in this
but
case. There's
I
too
was
many
about
mouths
to
to feed.
I would know. I was just about to ask. I was going to say, if all these guys are healthy, what are they going to do? Start taking linemen off the field to get them all on the field?
Well, and Love spreads the ball around really well, which we were talking about. But the other thing I looked up today during working hours, so God help me, my clients who might be listening. Um, the lowest targets per game out of Jane Reed, Romeo Dubs, Duntavian Wicks, and Christian Watson, and I only included for Wicks his 6 games he started,
Mm-hmm.
is Christian Watson.
Yeah, that
He
feels
had the
right.
lowest targets per game out of the four.
He
So
seems to me like he could be poor man's Gabe Davis. Like you're going to get those games where sometimes it's 3 targets for 120 yards, and other it's 3 targets for 1 catch and 10 yards.
well, what I hate is when you say you're down on someone like this, anybody who's a truther, you hate him, you hate him, you don't. He's so talented. It's not even a knock on his talent. He is talented. These other guys are all talented as well, right? I mean, if you watch them play, and I did watch them play some, and I am not a Packers fan by any means, but Jaden Reed, Romeo Dubs, and Duntavian Wicks, very talented guys as well. Dubs might be the guy we all think is the least talented out of the bunch, but Love loves him. He targets him heavily. So he's like his little safety blanket, I think.
But not to mention back-to-back years. So he's only been in the league 2 years, and in both years he's missed at least 3 games and left a handful more with a. I'm reading it right now. It's a recurring hamstring injury, and he's seeking off-season treatment to figure out how to put an end to this. That worries me. He can't stay on the field, even if he is the most talented.
He does not play a full season, and I just don't think the target percentage is there for me to like him. Um, I'll pass. I'll just
Yeah,
pass. And in all fairness, unless I'm getting them late, I'm probably going to pass on all four because of the way Love spreads the ball around. He doesn't
absolutely.
he doesn't have just one target. Like picking who's going to have a 10 target game out of these four guys. Good luck.
You know what this feels like? A little lower. I don't think they have the talent, but this felt like vintage Drew Brees, where no matter what receiver you started, the other guy was who he was targeting that week. It's like he hated your fantasy team and knew. That's
Yeah,
what it feels like. So
yeah,
he is
yeah,
going. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. That's how I feel about it as well. And there's a few. I like the quarterbacks who have this many options though, typically because if you have a high number of passes going out a game and you're spreading the ball around, I tend to like those quarterbacks more because
Absolutely.
you can't just take away their top weapon and then
Yep.
hinder them in a game, right? Like
Absolutely. This is the one where it's not subject to the Bill Belichick where he just shuts down your number one. There's 6 guys on the field. He's just going to throw to someone else. So
yeah, and he's proven it. So
yeah, right
yeah,
now he's
I,
in a weird range where it's the 2 above him are Deontay Johnson and Calvin Ridley, and the 2 below him are Josh Downs and Hollywood Brown. This is such a weird range of the draft. Like,
yeah.
what do you think of those guys? I think I'd rather have Ridley, Johnson, Hollywood. I don't know. I think I'd at least have 3 of them over Watson.
Um, I think I'd rather have those 3 guys over Watson as well. And I'm not very high on Ridley.
Me neither. No, not at all.
He's
I
very
just,
boomy busty as well. Depending who ends up being the quarterback and how healthy he is, Johnson's probably the best one out of the group, at least target share wise,
the
if he's on
more
the field.
the more interesting thing I notice here is Watson's wide receiver 41, Dobbs is wide receiver 51. I think I'd rather have Dobbs 10 receiver spots later.
I think so as well, just because um, Love targets him often. So
Absolutely.
I would take him just for the volume of looks he gets. Uh, where's Jaden Reed in
Oh,
the
he's significantly higher. I'm going to scroll up, but
well that
he's 10 spots higher than, so it's 31, 41, 51 for Reed, Watson, and Dobbs. So Reed might even be too expensive himself because, like you said, they're going to
probably
spread it around. So,
he, Love spreads it around. So I mean, I'm probably gonna avoid all of them
yeah,
unless they're
whoever
all
falls.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a safe play.
It's the safest play because there's just no telling what they're gonna get for looks. Um, I mean, and then you throw Dontavian Wicks in there as
Yeah,
well, right? Like, who's going to be on the field? I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, feels like low rent San Francisco. It really makes you appreciate those teams with a consolidated fantasy production here, where it's 2 players.
Well, guys like Michael Salfino used to talk about it as the passing tree. You want the passing tree with a limited number of branches, not with 5 and 6 options,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, you can look at like Kansas City this year until Rashi Rice actually started to do something, which wasn't the first half of the season. They were just spreading the ball around. You didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
touch
They
any
did that in the
wide
Super Bowl.
receivers. Yeah,
MVS, Hardman.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
they had Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney when they were healthy. Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. I don't want it.
Yeah, you don't want any part of that. And I know when the offense is clicking, there's some fantasy analysts that'll say things like, "Oh, you want a part of that offense?" No, you don't. No,
But that just goes to
you don't.
you can't with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you still can't get a fantasy relevant receiver. Why would you want a situation like that? It's not at all. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. You'd much rather have like the CeeDee Lamb opportunity, even
Yes. Yes.
where you know
It's
30,
CeeDee
40,
Lamb.
30, 40, 50% of the passes every game are just going to him no matter what, right?
Absolutely.
It's but there's guys who come out of the woodwork somewhat like that, as a wide receiver too, almost every year. That I like that consolidated passing tree, right? The limited number of
Yep.
branches on that tree, less is better. I don't even care if it's on a bad team. Less is always better.
All right. Before we get out of here, can you tell us one more time where we can find you?
You can find me on Fan Tracks for my written content. Moneymakers and Heartbreakers again, the thing I think most everybody knows me for, and on the Cheat Sheet podcast.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for joining me. It was a pleasure talking about our consolidated route trees. It's always been something I've had a sticking point for. But thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Risers and Fallers on the Mad Science Lab podcast. Once again, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe, hosted by the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.